This trade is not surprising because the Dallas Cowboys are a really well-run organization. And I know because Jerry has the funny quotes and because they are in a 28-year drought of not making a conference championship game, and we look at it, they wanted to draft Johnny Manziel, and Jerry gets in the draft. Look at this team over the last half decade. Look at this team since they gave Zeke that contract extension. What's their worst move? What have they done poorly? And taking a player who was a consensus first-round pick, who ended up going number 3, and getting him for what will end up being about the 120th pick of the draft, with 2 years of control to be able to have him in your building to see what he can become, is good business. And the Dallas Cowboys, the playoff failures notwithstanding, they do good business. Listen, I am not a big Cowboys fan. There are a lot of folks out there that are well known, either Cowboys, I don't even want to say hater, but Cowboy detractor or Cowboys superfan. I'm none of the above. But I can call it as I see it and look at the Cowboys roster. Go to their spot rack page if you really want to get nerdy about it. Show me the bad contract. Look at their draft history over the last 5 years. Show me the team that conclusively has done better than them. Show me the move they've made that you're like, well, that's idiot. There isn't one. And trading for Trey Lance, because of what it allows you to do in a potential Dak Prescott negotiation, more on that in a moment, because of what you are buying low at the absolute nadir for a player that at one point everyone agreed was a first-round pick. Most people thought was going to go somewhere in the top 15. It wasn't as if the Niners were the only team that liked this player coming out of North Dakota State. That's good football business. Now, it's good business. It does seem to have left your franchise quarterback a bit nonplussed. Okay, so Dak didn't need a heads up because Trey Lance is not competing with Dak Prescott. Certainly not this year, maybe not ever. But here is why I would imagine that, because you could see in the very beginning when he was like, not surprised by anything. Now, maybe it's because he liked Will Grier so much, but maybe it's also because Dak, who is a savvy guy, a smart guy, and has played the NFL business world about as well, maybe better than he's played the actual on-field world. Here is why I think the Trey Lance move does impact Dak Prescott. And again, I apologize for this early in the morning out west or early afternoon out east to get into contract stuff. But Dak is the Cowboys are in an odd spot with Dak with 2 years left on his deal. And the reason is because Dak's agent smartly got the Cowboys to include in his contract, the last one, a no-tag provision, which means Dak Prescott 1 year from now is going to be in as strong of a position as any quarterback, honestly, in modern NFL history from a negotiating standpoint. Dak Prescott 1 year from now is going to be able to tell the Cowboys, this is the exact contract I want. What will undoubtedly be the biggest contract in NFL history. And if you don't give it to me, I will play out the following year and then be an untaggable, free and clear free agent at 31 years old. And people say what they want about Dak Prescott. There are not 10 quarterbacks alive better than him. And quarterbacks at that age simply do not hit free agency. And when they do, a poor man's version of Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins did once upon a time, has gotten 3 consecutive fully guaranteed deals. 1 in free agency, 2 via extension. You know why? Because the Vikings can't tag him and because he's had all the leverage. So what this Trey Lance move does, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you see how he plays. You see how he looks in practice. You see if you create a little package for him by midseason or later to add more of a quarterback running game wrinkle. Kyle Shanahan, a brilliant play designer. The Niners have done a wonderful job in later rounds of the draft finding talent. The Niners have as stacked of a roster as any team in the league. All of that's true. This is also true. for 6 consecutive years, the 49ers have botched the handling of the most important position in sports. It has arguably already cost them a Super Bowl or 2, and it might cost them another 1 or 2 potential ones down the road. Here's what we know. No team in the common draft era has gotten less out of a top 5 pick than the Niners got out of Trey Lance. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. As far as snaps played, games played, no top 5 pick last 50 years of the NFL draft has provided less for the team that drafted him than Trey Lance with the Niners. We know that. We also know the San Francisco 49ers have been haphazard at best when it comes to what they want, what they need from a quarterback. They are now trying to sell us the idea that, well, we just want someone who won't crash the car. We just need a caretaker. We can use a guy in Brock Purdy who we loved so much. We had 3 separate 6th-round picks in his draft, passed on him all 3 times. A guy we loved so much that not only was he not in contention to start last year, but after locking Jimmy Garoppolo out of the building, we sheepishly brought Jimmy Garoppolo back in the building because we didn't even trust Brock Purdy to be our backup quarterback. A player we love so much that we didn't have any reason to believe he could play until we had no choice but to play him. And now we are going to pretend as if he didn't just have massive surgery on his throwing arm when physical limitations were already the reason he was going to be an undrafted player for all other teams in the league. And for us, we took him the last pick. But set the Brock Purdy stuff aside. Here has been since Shanahan and Lynch have taken over in San Francisco. Here is what has been their path on the quarterback situation. They are sitting in 2017 with the number 2 pick of the draft. They do not scout Patrick Mahomes. They barely scout Deshaun Watson. And why was that? Because everyone assumed, I think correctly, that they had their eyes on Kirk Cousins, who was going to be a free agent a year later. They end up trading back 1 spot, drafting Solomon Thomas, who, of course, is no longer on the San Francisco 49ers. They then later in that first round draft Reuben Foster, and we are off and running. They then get anxious and antsy, can't wait for Kirk Cousins, trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, see 5 games of Jimmy Garoppolo and say, you know what? Forget the money we were going to spend on Cousins. We'll make you the highest paid player in the league. They then immediately fall out of love with Jimmy Garoppolo, but not far enough out of love to get involved in the Tom Brady sweepstakes in 2020. They then, in 2021, decide, you know what? We are fully done with Jimmy Garoppolo. We are going to trade all these draft picks, move up to number 3 to draft. We don't know. You remember the reporting there? Who are they taking at 3? We know Trevor's going 1. We know Zach's going 2. Is it Mac Jones? Is it Justin Fields? Is it Trey Lance? They couldn't have traded up without knowing who they were taking, but all the reporting was that is exactly what happens. They then take the rawest player ever to be taken in the top 5 of the NFL draft, a guy who had played 1 year of Division II college football because they believed in the upside. His rookie season, he got 2 starts, played well in one, played poorly in another. That was enough for them at the end of that year, after another trip to the NFC Championship game, to say, he's our starter moving forward. They then, that offseason, reportedly, had another opportunity to pursue Tom Brady. Nope, we don't want to. We are invested in Trey Lance. Saw him all offseason. He's our starter. Saw him all preseason. He's our starter. He then played 1 game in a monsoon and half a quarter in the next game and broke his leg. And before he could practice again, they were shopping him. He was on the trade market in February. Where is the consistent, logical approach to the quarterback position? You don't need a great player at quarterback? Then what are you doing trading 3 1s for Trey Lance? You do need a great player at quarterback? Then what are you doing? Forget Brock Purdy beating out Lance. So be it. I'm not a quarterback wins guy. The Niners didn't seem to be quarterback wins people when they told Jimmy Garoppolo, your Super Bowl appearance, your NFC Championship game appearance, not enough. We're done with you here. But with Brock Purdy, they want to be quarterback wins guys. So be it. That's fine. Purdy's the starter. What is the rationale to saying Sam Darnold, we're going to say you could be Steve Young and we're going to value you more than this player we took number 3 overall? This player who's thrown 420 passes since high school. This player that we knew was a developmental project, that we knew was raw. What is the logic to saying, even if you believe deep down, all right, if something were to happen to Brock and he were to be out 2 months, we'd probably quickly go to Darnold. Why would you not name Lance your backup? Just to keep him in the building, just to keep him attached to the team. And the answer there is that everyone has said, well, he practiced so terribly. He looked so bad. And that's when I go back to the timeline. When were these terrible practices? When did he look so bad? Because last offseason, through practice and preseason, you named him your starter. He then played, albeit terribly, in that first game of the year against the Bears, but it was a monsoon. The next game, he broke his leg. You were then shopping him in February. When was he practicing? He had a broken leg and a dislocated ankle. When was it that you went from all the way in to all the way out? Oh, it was when Brock Purdy showed us he can be the quarterback of the future. So be it. But it's not about Purdy versus Lance. It's about Sam Darnold and his 55 career starts of terrible play. Him over Lance. And if you look at the San Francisco 49ers, you must square the circle of amazing talent, brilliant play design, contenders every year. And they may have not only blown this window because of the quarterback position, not getting it right and not having a consistent approach.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.